Nothing changes when you wait. Everything changes when you allow. These words are not motivational advice. They are law. They reveal the invisible difference between people who spend their lives emotionally waiting for reality to change and those who quietly shift their inner state and watch reality reorganize itself around them. How long have you been waiting? Waiting for money to arrive, waiting for life to move, waiting for the opportunity, the message, the sign, the breakthrough. How many times have you told yourself, maybe this week, maybe things are finally changing, only to watch another day disappear while nothing around you seems different? And slowly, without realizing it, waiting becomes your identity. But Florence Scovel Shinn taught something far deeper than waiting. She taught that life responds to inner atmosphere, not effort, not desperation, not emotional pressure. Atmosphere. Most people believe they are waiting with faith, but internally they are waiting with tension, watching, monitoring, checking for movement. And that tension silently communicates lack. It says, "It is not here yet. It still hasn't happened. I still don't have it." And reality faithfully mirrors that state. This is why nothing changes while you emotionally wait for change. Because waiting often reinforces the identity of someone who still feels without. Florence understood that manifestation does not begin when reality changes. It begins when identity changes. The moment you stop emotionally chasing, the moment you stop interfering, the moment you stop fearing absence, something opens. You allow. And allowing is completely different from waiting. Waiting is passive tension. Allowing is calm certainty. Waiting watches the door. Allowing knows the door is already opening. This is why some people struggle for years trying to force movement into their lives. They affirm constantly, visualize constantly, think constantly. But underneath all of it, there is fear. Fear that it might not happen. Fear that they are still blocked. Fear that reality is still withholding something from them. And fear creates interference. The mind that fears lack cannot fully receive provision. The mind that emotionally grips the outcome quietly blocks the flow. This is why Florence repeatedly spoke about faith as emotional conviction, not emotional effort. Conviction does not panic. Conviction does not monitor. Conviction rests. And this resting state changes everything. Because reality responds differently to a calm mind. A calm mind no longer sends the signal of desperation. It no longer declares, "I need this to happen so I can feel safe." Instead, it silently communicates, "It is already unfolding." And reality begins rearranging itself to match that certainty. This is why things often move only after you stop forcing them, only after you stop checking, only after you stop emotionally depending on the outcome. Because the moment you relax your internal resistance, the flow returns naturally. Florence taught that divine supply is constant, always moving, always available. But most people interrupt that flow through fear, tension, and mental contradiction. They ask for abundance while expecting struggle. They ask for peace while emotionally rehearsing fear. They ask for provision while secretly preparing for disappointment. And reality reflects the dominant emotional atmosphere every time. Not the words, the atmosphere. This is why allowing is so powerful. Allowing means your inner state no longer contradicts what you desire. You stop pushing against life. You stop mentally arguing with the timing. You stop measuring reality every day searching for proof. And in that stillness, movement begins. Quietly at first, an unexpected opportunity, a conversation, a shift in perspective, a door that suddenly opens without force, not because you controlled reality, but because you finally stopped blocking it. The greatest misunderstanding is believing that force creates results. Force creates resistance. Flow creates results. And flow only returns when inner pressure dissolves. This is why the people who receive the most in life often appear calm. Not obsessed, not desperate, not emotionally chasing outcomes. They expect provision naturally, and expectation without tension is one of the highest forms of faith. Florence understood this deeply. She knew that the subconscious mind responds to what feels true internally, not what is repeated mechanically. If your words say abundance, but your nervous system says fear, fear becomes the dominant instruction. But when your thoughts, emotions, and identity finally align, reality begins moving with surprising speed. Because there is no longer internal conflict slowing the process down. This is why everything changes when you allow. Allowing changes your emotional state. Allowing changes your identity. Allowing changes the signal you send into reality. And reality always mirrors the signal you consistently embody. So perhaps nothing in your life has been truly blocked. Perhaps life has simply been waiting for you to stop interfering with the flow, to stop gripping the outcome, to stop emotionally declaring absence every single day. Because the moment you stop resisting what you desire, you become available for it. And availability changes everything. So today, stop asking when things will move. Stop watching the clock. Stop searching for immediate evidence. Instead, enter the state Florence pointed toward all along: calm expectation, quiet certainty, internal permission. Because life does not respond to emotional pressure. It responds to alignment. Nothing changes when you wait. Everything changes when you allow. Most people never notice the exact moment they begin blocking their own lives. It happens quietly, not through failure, not through bad luck, but through emotional attachment to absence. You look at reality every day searching for evidence that things are changing. And when you do not immediately see movement, your nervous system reacts. You become discouraged, impatient, tense, and that tension becomes a message, a silent declaration that says, "It still isn't here." This is why so many people unknowingly recreate the same conditions over and over again, because they keep emotionally confirming the current reality instead of internally aligning with the new one. Florence Scovel Shinn understood that imagination alone was not enough. Words alone were not enough. The subconscious responds most deeply to feeling, to emotional atmosphere, to the state you repeatedly return to when nobody is watching. And this is why allowing is not passive. It is mastery, because it takes enormous inner discipline to remain peaceful while reality appears unchanged. Anyone can feel certainty after results appear, but true alignment begins before evidence exists. That is the test. Can you remain internally stable before the manifestation arrives? Can you remain available to abundance before the money appears? Can you remain emotionally open before the opportunity materializes? Most people cannot. And because they cannot, they keep interrupting the flow every few hours through fear and emotional reaction. They ask, then doubt, trust, then panic, visualize, then check reality again, searching for proof. This creates energetic contradiction. It is like planting a seed and digging it up every morning to see whether it has grown. The issue is not that life ignored the seed. The issue is that fear never allowed the process to stabilize. Florence taught that faith is not emotional intensity. Faith is emotional continuity, a calm, sustained conviction, a quiet inner knowing that remains untouched by temporary appearances. And temporary appearances deceive almost everyone because reality often looks unchanged right before it shifts. That is why many people quit emotionally moments before movement begins. They interpret silence as denial, but silence is often reorganization. Things are moving invisibly long before they move physically. Opportunities are aligning. People are repositioning. Conversations are forming. Doors are quietly preparing to open. But the physical world takes time to reflect what consciousness has already accepted internally. And this is where most people sabotage themselves. They demand immediate proof. But immediate proof is not how creation works. The internal shift happens first. Then reality catches up. This is why the emotional state you maintain during the unseen phase matters so much. Because the unseen phase is not empty. It is construction. Something deeper is assembling itself beyond your senses. And every moment you remain calm instead of fearful, you strengthen the new reality internally. You tell life, I no longer identify with lack. I no longer expect disappointment. I no longer emotionally worship delay. That changes your frequency completely. And once your identity changes, your external life eventually has no choice but to reorganize itself. Because reality mirrors identity more than desire. Many people desire abundance while remaining identified with struggle. They desire peace while remaining emotionally addicted to chaos. They desire freedom while mentally preparing for limitation every day, and reality continues matching the dominant identity. This is why Florence repeatedly emphasized the importance of already feeling supplied, already feeling supported, already feeling aligned, not because you are pretending, but because your inner state teaches reality what to reflect. Your nervous system becomes an instruction. Your emotional baseline becomes a command. And if your baseline is anxiety, life continues reflecting instability. But if your baseline becomes calm expectation, everything changes. You stop chasing. You stop forcing. You stop needing constant reassurance from the external world. And strangely, that is often when life begins moving faster than before. Because there is finally space for movement. Fear contracts. Trust opens. And life flows through openness. This is why allowing is one of the most powerful spiritual states a person can enter. It removes resistance between you and what already wants to reach you. It dissolves the emotional walls that were unconsciously blocking provision. And perhaps this is the deepest realization of all. You do not need to force life to support you. You only need to stop resisting the support that is already trying to reach you. There is a reason peace feels so unfamiliar to people who have struggled for a long time. The mind becomes conditioned to emotional survival. It learns to anticipate delay, to expect difficulty, to emotionally prepare for disappointment before anything even happens. And after years of repeating that pattern, tension starts feeling normal. People begin believing that constant mental effort is responsibility, that worrying means caring, that overthinking means control, that emotional pressure somehow speeds reality up. But it does the opposite. Pressure closes the mind. Pressure tightens the body. Pressure interrupts receptivity. And the longer a person lives in that contracted state, the harder it becomes for them to naturally receive. This is why some people sabotage blessings the moment they begin approaching. Not consciously, but subconsciously, ease feels unsafe to them. Flow feels unfamiliar. Provision feels temporary. So the mind immediately searches for problems again. It asks, what if this disappears? What if this doesn't last? What if something goes wrong? And the nervous system returns to fear before reality even has the chance to fully arrive. Florence Scovel Shinn understood that the subconscious does not respond to what you occasionally say. It responds to what you repeatedly accept as true. And what many people accept as true is struggle. Not because they want struggle, but because struggle has become psychologically familiar. This is why receiving requires a completely new relationship with certainty. You must become comfortable with peace before physical evidence appears. You must stop needing constant confirmation from reality in order to remain emotionally stable, because if your emotional state depends entirely on external proof, your inner world will always fluctuate with appearances. And appearances constantly change. One day reality looks promising. The next day it looks delayed. One moment you feel hopeful. The next moment you feel blocked again. But true alignment is deeper than appearances. It is the ability to remain internally anchored even while reality is still reorganizing itself. This is what Florence meant when she spoke about unwavering faith. Not blind optimism, not forced positivity, but emotional steadiness, a consciousness that no longer collapses every time the external world appears silent. Because silence does not mean absence, delay does not mean denial, and stillness does not mean nothing is happening. In fact, some of the greatest shifts happen invisibly. Roots grow underground long before anything breaks through the surface. And the same is true for your life. Long before the opportunity arrives physically, your inner world begins changing first. You start reacting differently. You stop panicking as easily. You stop obsessing over timing. You stop interpreting every delay as failure. And those internal shifts are not small. They are evidence that your identity is changing, because the version of you who constantly fears lack cannot fully coexist with the version of you who expects provision naturally. At some point, one identity must replace the other, and that replacement happens through repetition. Not repetition of empty affirmations, but repetition of emotional stability, returning to peace again and again, returning to certainty again and again, returning to trust even when nothing visible has happened yet. This is where real transformation begins. Not when the money arrives, not when the relationship appears, not when circumstances finally improve, but when your inner atmosphere no longer collapses in the absence of immediate evidence. That is power, because once your internal state becomes stable, reality begins losing its ability to control you emotionally. And paradoxically, that is often when reality starts changing the fastest, because you are no longer energetically gripping it. You are no longer chasing movement from a state of fear. You are available, open, receptive, and receptivity is magnetic. People often think manifestation is about attracting something from outside themselves, but many times it is simply removing the resistance that prevented it from arriving naturally. Life is already moving. Opportunities already exist. Provision already exists. Connections already exist. But fear distorts your ability to receive them. Fear narrows perception. Fear makes you interpret temporary silence as permanent limitation. Fear convinces you that because something has not happened yet, it never will, and that emotional conclusion becomes another instruction sent into reality. This is why Florence constantly emphasized guarding the mind, not because thoughts are magical on their own, but because repeated emotional patterns eventually become identity. And identity shapes experience. The person who expects rejection notices rejection everywhere. The person who expects support begins noticing doors that were invisible before. Reality responds differently once your internal assumptions change. That is why allowing matters so deeply. Allowing is not surrendering your desires. It is surrendering the resistance surrounding them. It is finally relaxing the emotional grip that has been exhausting your mind for years. And when that grip dissolves, flow returns naturally. So maybe the change you have been waiting for was never waiting on time. Maybe it was waiting on your inner permission, waiting for the moment you stopped measuring every day through fear, waiting for the moment you stopped emotionally worshiping delay, waiting for the moment you finally became available for what you have been asking for all along. Because life responds differently when your mind is no longer fighting reality. And this is the shift Florence Scovel Shinn tried to teach people. You do not force blessings into your life. You align with them. You stop resisting them through tension, fear, doubt, and emotional interference. You stop checking whether you are worthy. You stop questioning whether it is possible. You stop reacting to temporary appearances as if they are permanent truth. And slowly, reality begins mirroring the new state you consistently embody. Not because you chased harder, but because you finally allowed. So from this moment forward, stop asking, when will things change? Ask instead, what state am I returning to every single day? Because your dominant state becomes your reality, and the moment peace becomes stronger than fear. The moment certainty becomes stronger than waiting. The moment trust becomes more natural than control. Everything begins moving differently, not all at once, but unmistakably. Opportunities begin appearing, doors begin opening, people begin responding differently. Life begins reflecting the shift that first happened inside you. So breathe deeply, release the pressure, stop forcing the future to prove itself before you allow yourself to feel aligned. You are not here to chase life. You are here to become available for it. Nothing changes when you wait. Everything changes when you allow. And if this message reached you at exactly the right moment, perhaps it is because some part of you already knows. The flow was never truly blocked. You were only learning how to stop resisting it.